again, Deb from debwebbart here. And you know, lately I've been tapping into the joy of making art. So you know, when you take away any kind of pressures that you may have put on yourself, if it's got to create because we've got a gallery showing, or got to create because I need to make some sales or anything like that. And you know, sometimes when you've got those pressures on, you forget about the joy of creating. Okay, so I was thinking about this last week and feeling just a bit muddled and maybe not quite as excited about life as I wanted to be. And we all know that, you know, if you followed my story, you'll know that I've been through depression many years ago, but I managed to get through it. But every now and again, just a little niggle is there, and then I know that if I follow that, I will go down into a bit of a dip. So I noticed it and I thought, nah, I've got to do something to change this. And one of the things is to find the joy in what you're doing, okay? So it doesn't matter what it is, but go back to what originally made you feel excited and happy. So I decided that I was just going to have fun experimenting with lots of different things and not really think about making a video of it, not really think about what I was actually creating, but just actually having fun. So in some of the things, I'm just going to be showing you some pictures because I've already done them, but I just wanted to share with you how important it is to find that joy again, regardless of what it is. But if you're on this channel, it's quite possibly creating. So if you're feeling a bit flat, take pressure off yourself and just create, just to have fun. Don't think about creating anything specifically, or maybe you've always been interested in creating a landscape. Well, just try that. You don't have to show anybody, you just do it. Okay, so I wanted to share with you a few things that I'd been playing around with, and just in case you feel like you might want to go down the same rabbit holes as I did. All right, let's see what I've got up to. Okay, so one of the first things I got up to was something called Momagami, which is basically a Japanese paper kneading technique, right? And what you're supposed to do is you knead the paper, so you're literally breaking up all the fibers, and then it becomes a really flexible piece of paper. It's almost fabric-like, okay? And so I wasn't quite as careful as what I possibly could have been, but so some of my paper did a little bit of tearing. I think if you're using it for a collage purpose, it could be really effective. You can also apparently smooth it out more. You can use a little bit of oil to help with the molding process, the kneading process. You can use a bit of, I think some people use hand lotion, some people use hair conditioner. There's interesting techniques out there, and so I just really, this was a little some little Japanese paper anyway, but this was literally from a magazine, so it's got a different kind of look about it, sort of glistens. And then this one was also from a magazine, a more matte type one. So it was actually really interesting. When I looked at it, I thought, I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. But then I watched this one lady who literally sticks a whole lot of stuff down and creates beautiful pages for her journals. You know, she makes the actual pages with all of this. Obviously sticking it down onto something like rice paper or butcher paper or something, but then double-siding it so that it actually is quite sturdy but also has a flexibility about it. It's actually pretty fascinating. Then there was another lady that I followed who did something called, now I'm probably going to butcher this and I don't know if it's even the right name, but it was something like Konikatu or something like that, from the cognac plant. And that was actually with some sort of liquid that you brushed on And so what it did was it gave the paper a fabric type look. So you make pencil cases, you could make bags, all sorts of things, because you'd brush that stuff on. So it was very interesting. So yes, I've went down the rabbit hole. But what I'm going to do with this actually is I found this piece of paper, watercolor paper that's a bit of a scrap piece. So I thought I might just stick this down, and then, I don't know, I'll see if something comes to me as far as creating on top of this, and maybe rubbing this with some sort of inks, or, you know, maybe that'll be where another little journey that I go on, you know. So the next journey I went on was using the Elegant Writer pen from Speedball, and these pens are originally used for calligraphy, so they were marketed for calligraphy. But then what happened was some clever person decided to put water on them and realized that the ink that came out of them was really colorful. So I had some really scrap rice paper close by, so I just drew a rough little daisy thing, and then when I put water on, obviously because it's rice paper, it's really absorbent, so it went through to the other side. But this is literally just black ink. That is all, except for this green here, because I was painting to try and get an idea of something. But all of this blue, pink, all of that is just black ink. It's the ink from here. It's really fascinating. So then I decided to do a bit more of just a slightly more structured piece. But interestingly, all of these colours, except for this green and a bit of the green down here on the corners here, are just at the end of this mixed two colours just gently together, the Titan green pale and the green gold, and then just had a go just putting touches in there just to lift it, because I'm still uncertain what to do with this. But I just thought this was a fascinating thing to show you, because the pinks and the blues that come out of there is just phenomenal. So much fun. I will do a video showing you how to use it, but really fun. And now I'm looking at it thinking, should I blank in the background? Because I feel like I should, but at the same time, I don't know. So, you know, if you have any suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And then I was also using my journal. Now, what I like about this journal is that I've had this for years and years and years, and it's gone through some really ugly stages, and I've actually got still some really ugly works in here. Okay, so no judgment. All right, so it's just one of these kinds of ones. Now I better just see if I can get this in. Okay, so a lot of these have started being created years ago, and then I don't know, every now and again I look at it and I carry on creating. So like, that's why this is not really finished, but at some point I might draw some lines on here, or, you know, just depending on where I'm at and what I want to do. But I actually particularly like this. And the weird thing is, this was just using Copics and me just doing blocks of color and all sorts of stuff and just playing. See what happens when you just play. You don't have an agenda, you just play. And then this one is pretty busy and interesting. But then you see what happens with stuff like this, where you don't necessarily like it, but you might then be inspired by parts of it and think, oh, well, that colour and that colour together go really well. So, you know. And then this one was one that I'm still busy fixing, but it's on its own little journey. So same thing, you know, you just got to work with it. This is hideous, but, you know, I might play with that one day. Same, another hideous one. Might just play with that. Oh my God. So funny. This, I was told to try out using a particular stamp. I did not like the stamp. But, you know, there's some interesting colours and blends and stencils going on. So there's some interesting things in there. That one is also using the same stamp, but absolutely hideous. All right. that one, I enjoyed this one. This one was really, really fun, and lots of layers went into it. And so there's parts of this that were really enjoyable. So something, you know, and when you look back, it's really nice to see how I've sort of put things together. It's also nice to see how I've grown. So yeah, and here, I mean, I've used some foil and all sorts of other things, which I don't normally use. But that was like the time that I was going through. So I think you've got to honour that. You've got to honour all the different things about yourself. Same thing, terrible pages, but you know what? I will paint over them and I will continue. This is like an offloading the brush page, so I'm hoping that that comes to something at some stage. Same thing, offloading the brush, I'll get to that. This is actually a lesson that I've put together on napkin art, and it's really fun. And this is for the next lesson, so there's a bit of a blank. So, you know, some wonderful things. This I did a thing on I Am Enough, a challenge on it, and I really enjoyed it, and these were the pages that went with that challenge. So that was a really cool one as well. Very simple because it was people following along, and it was how they how it all came to be. This was just me playing around with some stencils and different patterns, and sometimes I draw and sketch in things, and you know. This one here, it was so interesting. I had made a really ugly page, right? It was super ugly. And then what I decided was, oh, I'm just going to paint over it. Started to paint over it. I knew that the paint I was using was sort of translucent. So then I started to scratch it out with my trusty stick. And so the colours from below came through, and I was thinking, wow, I actually quite like it. I have no idea where to go from here, but I quite like that and how it all came about. So it's funny how you can just be playing and then something happens. And this was just the other day. So this is one of my joy pieces. This, I really like the combination of colours, and I just haven't had the heart to paint over it. Once again, just me playing with inks. This was my go at plein air painting. Oh dear. I mean, it looks like trees, so, you know, I'm quite impressed with that myself. But yes, I probably should get back to that. I like this one. This is like a joyful page, and it makes me feel really happy. You know, you've got to find these things. And then this one was just me playing with pan pastels. So it actually stuck fairly well. Very little comes off, which is interesting. This is just a sketch, so, you know. This is my cat. So that's pretty fun. That's also me sketching while someone was talking. You know, when you had to attend these calls, and you're interested but you can't keep your hands still. That's what that one was, and it's pretty poor face on that girl. Anyway, I like this one. This one was painted before, and then I did some designs, and then I was playing with Pantone markers, and decided to do this on this side here, which I really quite like. She is made with pan pastels. You can see it sort of come off on the other side, because you can't really spray these. When you spray them, they'll sink into the page. So, you know, and this is me just playing with the Pantone markers again. Really fun. I've got a preparation owl there that I'm going to do. And then this one was what I did the other day. So what I did was I covered the entire page with stencils. Okay, I stenciled one thing over another, and I literally just stenciled the entire page. And then I decided to carve out just some leaves. So that's why it looks like it does. I might bring in a little bit of pink because I feel like it maybe needs it. But the interesting thing that has occurred with this, which I didn't know why I didn't think about it, is that it's created a I don't know if you're going to see this, but it's quite shiny. But it's created the stencils that are underneath are sort of textural, and it's a very light texture. I'm not one for lots of texture, but it's a very light texture, and it actually makes it quite interesting. So, you know, that's where I've got up to, but it's a very interesting thing to grab your journal that you know that you're not necessarily going to display and just have fun. It might look absolutely horrid, as you've seen some of them, but you know, from that you can often step up and leap into something different. So the other thing that I did was often I do this if I'm watching TV or if I'm sitting in the lounge room, and I feel the need to create, but I don't want to do a whole big thing. So I grabbed a little journal. It's got very ordinary kind of pages, you know, I guess maybe 110 GSM, so quite thinnish. And I grabbed my Neo pastels. And then I just started colouring in with them, and I had my little rubber-tipped tool that I used to smudge. So I was busy smudging, listening, you know, that kind of thing. And then just doing, and I also had a stick to do little designs in there, okay? And then just turn over the page, carry on. And what I do in this instance is that when I finish like that, I usually grab a piece of paper and I just push down just to try and take away any extra stuff. And then that way, you know, it's not quite as sticky. And then I moved over to a different color palette. Same thing. It's literally just scribbles and then just making something of them. But it's very soothing because you're not having to perform. You're not having to display. You're just doing this for your own peace and for your own joy. Okay, honestly, it takes you to a whole nother level, but it also gives you more inspiration to then move on and create for something else. Okay, and then this was just another one, a lot less going on in here, and maybe I might go back to it, but I quite like the emptiness of that one. And so the other thing is that if I did want to take something that I had a great deal of joy in, and that I then decided, you know what, I quite like that, I wonder what it would look like on a tote bag, then I can take a photo, I can scan it and upload and see what it would look like. But the thing is, the whole point of all these exercises is literally just fun. So I think it's really important for us to go back and reclaim fun. So even if you don't do this full time, even if you're doing, you're in a job, maybe the job becomes a little bit laborious and you feel really tired, try and carve out some part of your day where you can set aside to just play, even if it's for 10 minutes, okay? But make that time. Find a little book, find something that you can create in, and just make that time for yourself, because that's how we recapture all the fun and all the joy, and we start to feel a lot happier because we are putting aside some time that is just for us. So I hope you'll find time to make time for yourself, even if you've got little ones. See if there's a way that you can occupy them while you have your fun. Maybe getting them some little simple paints or some simple crayons or something that they can do while mummy or daddy have a bit of time to themselves. I think it's really important to see if you can make that time, because that is where your joy is, that is where your creativity springs from. And we can't always share it with someone. We as much as we like to include our children in lots of things, I still think it's really important to also have your own time. Okay, so see if you can make some time, and also if this video resonates with you, I'd love if you could hit the like button and potentially subscribe if this channel resonates. Right, well, hopefully you are thinking about ways you can make time for yourself, or maybe you're going to go down the rabbit hole like I did and try some new things. Just try layering up stencils. Do something that is simple, relaxing, fun, and just don't care. Don't care what it looks like. Just do something, and you'll find that the creativity starts to flow from there. I'd love to know how you go. Let me know. Take care, and I'll chat to you again soon. Bye for now.